So you can see all the short sellers coming in here. What are they doing? They're front running that order. Why are they front running it? Well, if they're reasonably smart cookies, doesn't mean that it's the right trade, and it might be a poor idea, but I can understand why they're doing it because they've seen the market fail to hit that order already twice today. They're leaning on that order. So let's now see if there's a play to actually force that order. So someone is going to pick that up. They're going to go, hey, I know it's this previous high, but yes, there'll be some traders who trade purely off that, but that's not the ones who do enough business that I can even be bothered worrying about because they don't influence price. That's very unsophisticated trading. So I can see from the size here that it's not someone who's just trading a one or two lot. That's the sort of category I put someone into trading the previous high. So I think there's likely someone who's building a short and taking it cautiously. As the market shows them that they're on side, they can then build into it the same way that we do. So given that that order has not been filled on 2 occasions, I can appreciate that someone would think that's probably not a bad idea. I don't think it's a good idea because I think that it's a trap, but might not be a trap. But if it's a trap, it'll pay, and it's going to be a hell of a lot more straightforward trade than trying to pick this top. We also got pretty expanded there, so outcome known, and there's going to be some natural reversion trades from some of those reversion models that kick in. They're not going to get out because they're leaning on that order. So the price literally has to take that order out. Now, if they're reasonably skilled, they're not going to just allow that to happen because I don't know if someone pulls half that order or something last minute, it's going to really hurt them. So you can actually get a gauge of just how sophisticated these traders are by watching how they treat this move into this. So at this stage, I'd say actually they're not that sophisticated, which is good because I'll immediately take the other side. So if I can work out if they're pros, I know that I don't want to be on the other side of their trades. It's a little bit of covering. So if you were short and leaning on that order, you sure as hell don't actually want to see that order get filled because if half of it goes, it's going to push price through. So a little bit of covering, but not a lot. So there's an element there that have covered because they're smart, and then you've got an element that haven't. So I've taken the other side, so I've gone long. So it's nothing to do with, where charts are or anything. It's just purely looking at who's in the market and their rationale for taking a trade, and more importantly, how they're managing the risk. So what I'm trading is what I think is their poor risk management. That's actually what I'm trading. Now, it's like any other trade. It might not work. So let's watch this 26. Here we go. Let's see how much business gets done. That's important to recognize. Now, there were 143, I think, from memory up there. That was earlier today. All right, so here's exactly what I was talking about. So there's 40. See how a chunk of it got pulled? Now, what hasn't happened immediately? Now, the market hasn't continued on and thrust through. So that's not good for me who's trading the rationale that that's what's supposed to happen. I am on side, so we haven't quite got there yet. Here we go. All right, so now let's watch those sellers cover. See the numbers going through? So some of them were reasonably sized. It was just poor trading. So guess what we've also done? Now that we've moved up into that area, we're into a big block of shorts. Right, second deviation on the CME VWAP. It's not on this chart, but I've got another view. I've been talking about how that's important. So taking some money. Remember, you got to think about how many traders are actually in this area, like how many of them were due to cover. And anything from here is just a bit of gravy on the end. See if we can push higher. And then I think it'll be like outcome known, massive expansion, call it a night. What do you think? So this trade going back in, that had everything to do with recognizing not the trade so much, but the way that the risk was managed on that trade. And so this is why I spend so much time at the screens. It just forces me to keep thinking about scenarios that gets me creative enough to even think about those things, because the markets are more sophisticated than what enough traders are incapable of matching. There's plenty of very, very good traders, so I don't want to take those traders on, but there's sufficient who are not. So if you think about the way that this trade was managed, in hindsight, just looks like, oh yeah, if you just bought here and held to this, didn't do that at all. Looked at the reasons to be long in the first case, then got out before the order, then get back in. There's so many different steps that required completely different thinking and approaches, even though it's all really part of one hypothesis.